Hello, all. I'm Hashwini, medical psychologist, and welcome to the first episode of Bear With Me. And today, with us, we have got a very young and sharp clinical psychologist, Miss Sri Nandini, who's also the founder of Tulir Psychological Services. Now, why I call her young is obviously because of her age, but why I call her sharp, you'll definitely know by the end of the podcast. Hi, Sri Nandini.
Hi, Ashwini.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Now, are you nervous?
Yeah, of course.
Psychologists do get nervous?
Yes, they do.
Okay, because I have heard a lot of people say, "Oh, are you nervous? Are you scared of something?" And all of it, as if psychologists are superhumans and they don't get nervous or scared.
That's really true. Not just being nervous, it's about as if psychologists don't experience any emotions or as if we control all our emotions very effectively.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this is 2025 and you've been almost studying psychology for a decade now. You started your UG in the year 2016.
Yes,
And
yes.
then PG again in 2019. And now you've successfully finished MPhil in clinical psychology.
Yes.
Now, but I have a very small question in this. Why did you pick up 7 years of clinical psychology when you already had an option of doing diploma in counseling and calling yourself a counselor or a psychologist after that? Why did you take an effort to do 7 years in psychology?
Yeah, this is something very commonly asked. Like, why do you study for 7 years?
Yeah.
Like, why can't you just practice after your BSc or MSc? And so here is the thing: when it comes to clinical psychology, it's not just my wish, but it's the regulation which says that we have to complete 3 years of a bachelor's, 2 years of master's, and then 2 more years of MPhil in clinical psychology to become a clinical psychologist. This is being mandated by the Rehabilitation Council of India. So even if you're not taking a clinical psychology route and you want to become, say, a counseling psychologist or a school counselor, so ideally and very recommended would be to do a bachelor's in psychology followed by a master's in psychology.
Yes, right.
Why I say it's recommended, because this 5 years of education will give you a very, very strong foundation in terms of theories and a lot about how mind works and a lot more practical experiences and also mentorship and guidance throughout the 5 years. Yes, there are diploma courses out there, like 6 months, 3 months, a week also. So I don't dismiss them, but I just see them as like a starter course. Right? Or sometimes they exist to kind of like help you more after even you complete your MSc.
Right.
But just doing that alone, I think it will not be sufficient at some point, because we as a psychologist are dealing with minds, human minds. So it's very delicate and very sensitive area. So without like proper theoretical foundation and proper training, supervisions, what happens here is that unintentionally there are chances that we might harm people in the process of practicing.
Right, very true, very true.
Yeah.
See, now I had a client 6 months back. If you had seen in my profile, you will get their client testimonial also. They had gone to one of the most reputed private hospitals in Chennai, and they had met a psychologist for a counseling session, and then one of our batchmates, in fact, is also working for the same hospital. She came to me saying that she did not feel any better. She was only talking in the session and all of it put together. Now I called our batchmate and asked how are things working there and all of it. That's when I figured out the person who she met there in the name of a counselor had done only 1 diploma courses. Now, again, as I said, even I don't dismiss courses like this, but the problem starts when people take up these courses only and start practicing. Because let's take a 3 months or a 6 months course, they either miss out on a lot of basics or they miss out on a lot of advanced techniques, which is very much essential to take care of a patient, in a session, counseling session, or in a therapeutic session.
That's one more thing I have noticed is that even I have seen few clients who come to me who have had very bad experiences. Right. So what happens here is that they kind of lose trust in the whole process of seeking therapy.
Exactly.
Because seeking therapy or taking the first step to seek any help takes a lot of courage.
Right.
So when that is not being received properly, there are chances that they might not again take that step forward.
Right. So today's topic, so basically we have a lot of people commenting about it. Let it be your children or anybody's children. Everybody has got an opinion on how to manage children behavior.
True.
So as a psychologist today, you are here to discuss with me and also given some insightful techniques to the parents here, and in order to help parents bring up their own children.
Sure.
Now, the first question that we have seen almost everywhere is sometimes adults expect children to behave like mini adults.
True.
Now, you take one example. Let's say a family is taking up a puja, no? If a child is not able to sit, the child is very restless. People expect the child to sit there for 3 hours, 4 hours, which is very much unlike for a child to do.
True.
In that scenario, most of the elders, or most family members, or even society in general expect children to behave like mini adults. So, from where did this start from, and how to help
Yeah.
people?
This is very much seen nowadays, that there is unknown pressure within the parents and the family members expecting the children to behave like a mini adults, right? So if we see where this is stemming from, there could be few reasons. Like, one could be, as you said, societal expectations. Right. So a child, they have defined, have to behave in certain way. If the child behaves in a certain way, then they term the child as a good child, or this child is a naughty one or a bad one. So a society has given some labels and some standards even for the kids.
Right.
So what happens is that this thing being pushed upon the parents, they kind of start having this expectation that child has to behave in a certain way. And one more reason could be the comparison of ideal children through any medias, social media or movies or newspaper, whatever it is. So when they see, they portray the children in a very form of ideal way and how they have to behave. So while seeing this, parents start mentally comparing their child. Oh, my child is not doing this.
Right.
Oh, see, this child is able to talk this much, my child is not talking. This child is doing all the works at this particular time, able to finish their homework, interacting very well. Each and every aspects they start comparing. So it even comes from the social media, right? So other reason could be that we would have noticed this scenarios at our home, that even with the rise in the technologies and all, we would have noticed parents saying, என் பையன்கிட்ட என்ன ஃபோன் கொடுத்தாலும் என்ன ஆப் கொடுத்தாலும் அவன் வந்து உள்ள பூந்து வேற மாதிரி பண்ணிடுவான்.
Exactly.
They will very proudly say that. There's no wrong in it. I'm not saying it as a wrong thing. But what happens is that when the child is able to do something exceptional in one area, they kind of expect it in all other areas.
Exactly.
So when they do that, when child is able to operate something that I can't do, why can't the child behave certain way? So this question comes in the parents, and they start kind of forcing the child or expecting them to do. So ideally what parents can do is that they have to kind of accept and adjust their expectations, right? So child is still growing, they're still developing, and also we have to see developmentally what they can do and what they can't do, and not push them beyond that. So because if they are not understanding this, what happens is that the child kind of tend to feel that, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. This sense of feeling not good enough starts coming in there. Right? So parents have to kind of start adjusting their expectations, and also they also have to be kind to themselves. Right? So they're taking so many pressures. Parenting is not a very easy journey, right? For the first parents, and parenting in this particular generation, it's not so easy. So I think they also have to take it slow and be kind to themselves in the first place.
Okay. So how does it affect the emotional development of a child when others expect them to become or behave like mini adults?
So what happens is that they're not, at one point they will start feeling that whatever I'm expressing or whatever I'm doing, they will not be feel seen.
Yeah.
They will not be seen as a child.
Yeah, correct.
Who they are. So whatever they do might be termed wrong, or நீ இப்படி பண்ணக்கூடாது, இப்படி தான் பண்ணணும், உனக்கு இது தெரியாதா, இது கூட தெரியாதா, can't you even do this? So the child thinks that, okay, maybe I'm not that person who can do things. So their self-esteem automatically starts going down. And also at some point they will start suppressing their emotions as well.
Yeah.
Right? So these are the things that will happen, and it's very important that as a parent, they don't have to go fix the child immediately.
Right.
They can just let the child be a child.
And somewhere or the other, the children also start seeking for emotional validation. No, okay, நான் இது கரெக்டாக பண்ணியிருக்கேனா, அப்பா மாதிரி நானும் வந்து என்னோட t-shirt எல்லாம் அயன் பண்ணி வைக்கிறேனா, இல்ல am I folding it like my mother, am I doing it like an adult அப்படின்னு. I think after a point children also start looking out for emotional validation. I think this very commonly happens in elder children in our community, because ஒரு elder child அப்படின்னு வரப்போ the parents start telling them you have to take care of your younger brother, you have to take care of your younger sister அப்படின்னு சொல்றப்போ somewhere or the other are we expecting a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old to do something that a 25-year-old or 30-year-old is currently doing அப்படின்ற ஒரு questionமே இருக்கு.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So what happens is that they take this responsibility on them from a very younger age. அது அப்போலேருந்து ஸ்லோவாக பில்டப் ஆகி ஈவன் ஆஸ் தே க்ரோ ஓல்டர் இட்ஸ் பீங் வெரி மச் ரிஃப்ளெக்டட் தே கேரி தட் பர்டன் இன் தெம் ரைட் ஸோ இட் பிகம்ஸ் வெரி டிஃபிகல்ட் அண்ட் ஆஸ் தே க்ரோ தேர் ஆர் சான்சஸ் தட் யூ நோ they might always tend to feel anxious, you know, whether am I doing it right, correct. You know, and they always take up responsibility. They will tend to over people please, and they will tend to take a responsibility more than that they could, right? So these are the things that later in life will also be happening. So it is important for the parents to be mindful about this.
Very well put. So now you spoke about ideal children, right? Now in school setup or, you know, in a tuition center, whatever it is, we have ideal behavioral problems. Okay. Now if a child is running around in the class, the child cannot sit and write something, the child doesn't listen to ma'am and all, they send them to a school counselor or they send them to a psychologist outside asking them to get checked. True. There are also, on the other hand, we have children in schools or we have children in a community wherein they are very quiet. They're very silent. They don't know how to express themselves. Now, இந்த மாதிரி குழந்தைங்களை பார்த்தா அவங்கனால பிரச்சனைன்னு எதுவுமே இல்லை. But they're very quiet. Somewhere or the other, I feel we started paying a lot of attention to children who, you know, get our attention, but somewhere in the silent children and all, I feel we have always left them unnoticed. Okay, what is happening with these silent children and why do we often forget to look after these kids and what would their needs be?
Okay, so this is actually, to be very honest, it's a pressing problem existing nowadays. Why? Because always the noisy things gets more attention.
Correct.
We tend to see that. So as a human, we are kind of wired to it. So probably when you're walking down a street, when you see a place which is very crowded, very noisy, immediately our attention goes there, right? If a person is sitting calmly, we don't even notice them, right? So basically our brains are wired in that way to get our attention there, where it's very noisy. Same way, similarly, even the children who are like, you know, throwing a tantrum or as you said, like being very restless in the school, teachers kind of pay more attention to them. So what really happens here is that the people who are very silent, right? So sometimes they get labeled as a shy person or an introvert. Timid. And also அவன் எப்பயுமே அப்படிதான், அவன் எப்பயுமே சைலண்டாக இருந்துருவான். And also somewhere in our society we have kind of fixed that, you know, if a child is quiet, then the child is a good child. So what happens automatically, they don't see a problem in them. They just feel that he's a complete child, like I don't have a problem, he's not causing any trouble to me. So parents also, they don't really have to pay more attention to the child. They just leave. But what happens here is that lot of times the pain that they undergo also go very unnoticed. Right. Lot of things happening inside goes unnoticed. So is the child really shy or is there something else happening is the question that you asked. There might be something happening. Not all the children who are very quiet, who are very obedient are healthy enough mentally, right? So there could be something else happening. So what's that? We have to look into that. So parents have to sometimes be very curious also about it, not just leave the child. So it could have started from the home, to be honest. So what happens, probably there could have been instances where the child would have come up to the parents to express something or say something. I'm not blaming the parents here, but with all the busy schedule and all the running behind so many things in this generation, not give so much attention to that particular thing. அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் இல்லைப்பா, இதெல்லாம் ஒரு சின்ன விஷயம் தான், அந்த மாதிரி they will start to put them down, put their emotions down. So what happens to the child? The child also thinks that okay, maybe it's not something big.
My opinions are not validated here.
Exactly. So they're not seen. They're not feeling seen. So automatically they will start shutting down.
Right.
So this shutting down not just happens at home. It happens across different areas of their life, in school, everywhere. So even if a child gets bullied in school, they might not come back home and tell it. They internalize everything. They internalize the pain as well. So in my practice, I have seen a child, a 7 years old child. They were brought only when the child was not performing academically well. Till then, they didn't notice any problem. And also the parents, they kind of have this fixed thing in their mind that, you know, my child is shy, he will not talk. So when the parents brought the child in also, the mother told that அவன் அவ்வளோலாம் பேச மாட்டான் மேம், நீங்கள் எனக்கு தெரியல, ஸ்கூலில் போக சொன்னாங்க, நான் கூப்பிட்டு வந்துட்டேன், ஆனால் அவன் பேச மாட்டான், நீங்கள் என்ன பண்ண போறீங்களே தெரியல. So immediately I didn't talk to the child, of course. So we have to build the rapport and all that. I started playing with the child. Lot of session it was just play. So play is an amazing tool, right? So through play we started getting connected. So the child started expressing, not verbally, directly, through the play.
Cues,
the child started expressing it, the pain the child was going through. So the child loved drawing. So I used to give some sheets and colors and all. So all the drawings were, it was all stories, it was comics, but it was all filled with pain.
Oh my God.
Very dark things, very, very saddening things, even to just read. Just reading it and seeing it coming out of a 7-year-old boy is not, you know, it's not very normal thing, to be very honest. So these children, as you said, they go very unnoticed, and they will be brought only to the psychologist, or they will come to the spotlight only when they are not performing academically well, or if there is any behavioral disruption, if they are not eating well. So these are the times when they get noticed. So what would I ideally say is that the child may be a very shy one or a quiet one. As a parent, it is always important to check in with the child.
Yes, right.
Regularly having a check-in with the child will do. Not necessarily that you have to sit and spend like hours together. Probably like 20 minutes a day.
Right.
Without any directions, without any comments, without any criticism, without any questions.
Yeah.
Just 20 minutes of quality time with the child will do a lot of magic.
But 20 minutes of quality time also now sounds like a luxury, no?
Very true.
When you say, I don't know honestly how many parents will be able to spend that time. No, not saying that they've got personal work to do, but everybody are very professionally occupied nowadays.
True.
That somewhere or the other spending 20 minutes or 30 minutes of no screen time or, you know, not watching television, just a conversation with the child feels like a huge luxury nowadays.
True.
And talking about that, I feel when children grow up, right, when they are shushed away from expressing something, I think after a point they don't develop any opinion for themselves. You ask them what dress you want to wear, they say anything that amma gives, anything that appa gives. You ask what do you want to eat, anything. What do you want to do right now, anything. The child doesn't have an opinion on its own, because growing up the child has always shushed away about the opinions that the child has always said.
And also sometimes it's being positively perceived or made to be perceived positively, saying that, you know, mother knows the best. அம்மாக்கு தெரியும், உனக்கு என்ன வேணும்னு அம்மாக்கு தெரியும், உனக்கு என்ன வேணும்னு அப்பாக்கு தெரியும். So this doesn't just stop with opinions, but later in life the person's identity, the question of who am I.
Exactly.
So these people, we observe that they kind of when they grow, they kind of be a very people pleaser. Right? So these are also things, it doesn't stop just with the childhood. It keeps growing even into the adulthood.
And especially, you know, I take psychology, right? So children come to me and say, ma'am, என்னோட வீட்டில் சைக்காலஜிக்கெலாம் ஸ்கோப் இல்லைன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க, எடுக்கக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. So I asked, what are the other options that you have? They've got different other options, for which I would say every profession has got equal scope. It only depends on your skill set. உன்னோட skill set எதில் நல்லா இருக்கோ அதில் you get to shine. So parents now have this word in their mind, உன்னால இதில் வந்து earn பண்ண முடியாது, you have to put in a lot of physical work, you have to put in a lot of mental effort, or sometimes, especially when it comes to psychology, they even say you see patients, you get disturbed, உனக்கு அப்புறம் counseling தேவைப்படும். And all of it, of course, we all also need to unwind somewhere, but in the opinions, no, they start saying it from the childhood, it gets carried away in their adulthood also. நான் பார்க்குற பொண்ணை நீ கல்யாணம் பண்ணணும், நான் பார்க்குற பையனை நீ கல்யாணம் பண்ணணும், உனக்கு எந்த மாதிரி பொண்ணு இருக்கும் நல்லா இருக்கும்னு எனக்கு தெரியும். All of it starts going on stage by stage. And also talking about elders, no, now I come from a joint family wherein I have always been pampered. So if I do something, let's say, which is not very adaptive and all of it, my grandfather or my grandmother used to say, குழந்தைனா அப்படிதாம்மா இருக்கும், விடு குழந்தைய அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. What are some of the things that as elders or as society that we have normalized, which is not okay for children to behave a certain way?
It's a very interesting question because, as you said, it's a very common thing to hear from grandparents,
Yes.
right? And also, even relatives also they
Yeah.
tend to say that. அப்படிதான் இருக்கும் குழந்தைனா. So again, we can't completely dismiss it as well because yeah, kids will be kids, right? So the thing is, it's not about one particular behavior done at one particular time is a wrong thing. So even if it's a tantrum, a child can't be without throwing a tantrum. If the child is not at all throwing a tantrum, then that's again something that we have to look. As we discussed earlier, the very shy kid, very calm kid, right? So when those behaviors are being done for a longer period of time, or it's being a repetitive one,
Yeah.
right? So in that case, I would say hitting other children, punching other children, kicking while playing, you know, this happens like, you know, அடிச்சிட்டு வந்துருவாங்க வீட்டுக்கு வந்துட்டு அம்மா நான் அந்த பையனை அடிச்சிட்டேன் இல்லைனா through somebody they come to know that, you know, my child has hit the other child. They at the time probably the parent might get angry or say அப்படிலாம் பண்ணக்கூடாது and all that, but when the relatives comes they say it with a proud, என் பையன் அந்த சண்டையில் அவனை அடிச்சிட்டான் தெரியுமா, அண்ட் தே ஆல் சே தட் அது ரவுடி பேபி இவன் இவன் வந்து அவன் வந்து சரியான நான் எல்லாரையும் பார்த்துப்பான் இவன் அப்படி இப்படின்னு தே கைண்ட் ஆஃப் லைக் make it a very positive thing. Somewhere they are kind of reinforcing those bad behaviors.
They're encouraging.
So when they talk about, even if the child directly they don't say it to the child, when they discuss and the child is being present there and the child hears it and sees the positive reactions from the relatives, what happens is reinforcing those behaviors. The child keeps doing it again and again. But after a point, it becomes very maladaptive or a wrong thing or like not very ideal behavior at that point. That thing. And also one more thing that's very normalized that we have to pay attention is being very clingy to the caregiver, primary caregiver or mother or grandparents who are per se. Clinginess till some age it's okay, right? But after a certain age, even if the say the child is studying in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade and being very clingy to the parents or grandparents, very difficult to separate. So that's something that we have to pay attention to, right? And other behaviors will be like when they are capable of doing their own things but they are not doing,
They're expecting
others to
help.
do. So these are the things when they are not feeling well or, you know, rarely if they do it's okay. But if it's being a regular thing, I know to eat but I will not eat, my mother has to feed me. I know to button my shirt but I will not do. I know to remove my socks but, you know, they will just ask the parents or the grandparents to remove. So these are some things that we have to make sure that, you know, we pay attention to.
And I also feel in our society or our Indian families, right, people do it to sound very cool. Like we always have this cool uncle or cool aunt who says yes for everything. And recently I had a parent, okay, whose child copied in an examination. So when the information was told, she was like, copies நாங்களும் காப்பிலாம் அடிச்சிருக்கோங்க அந்த மாதிரி. So when it is conveyed in front of the child, what happens? The child feels a little bit more heroic. ஓகே காப்பி அடிச்சு நம்ம பாரு அப்பாவும் காப்பி அடிச்சிருக்காரு, நம்மளும் காப்பி அடிச்சிருக்கோம், வீட்டில் எதுவுமே சொல்லலை, ஸ்கூலில் அதுதான் ரூல், ஸ்கூலில் ஏதோ சொல்லிட்டு போகிறாங்க அப்படின்றப்போ ஐ ஃபீல் சம்வேர் ஆர் தி அதர் எல்டர்ஸ் வாண்ட் டு லுக் as if they're very cool, and in that way they start reinforcing or encouraging behaviors like this very unintentionally. Yeah. And also in a school setup, I wanted to ask you this question. Most of the children now, let's say in our schools, right, we stay for almost 8 hours, morning 8 till evening 4. So and over 8 hours, let's say they have got 2 hours of some physical play. But in most of school, 2 hours of physical play per day is a luxury. Let's say karate, yoga or PT, something they do for 2 hours. 6 hours the children are sitting in one place. Okay, and except for international schools and all, wherein, you know, the child and the teacher ratio is 7:1 or 8:1, most of the hands-on activities work. But when you come to a larger group of students, 40 in a class, 30 in a class அப்படின்னு வரப்போ ஹேண்ட்ஸ் ஆன் ஆக்டிவிட்டி கொஞ்சம் டிஃபிகல்ட்டாக இருக்கு. அப்படி இருக்கிறப்போ ஹவு இஸ் அ சைல்டு எக்ஸ்பெக்டட் டு சிட் ஃபார் 6 hours? அண்ட் அப்படி அந்த குழந்தையால் உட்கார முடியல, இஃப் த சைல்டு இஸ் வெரி ரெஸ்ட்லெஸ், வி சம்மர் ஒரு அது பிளேம் த சைல்டு. அவன் பாருங்க கிளாஸுக்கு எழுத மாட்டேங்கிறான், இங்கே ஒரே இடத்துல உட்கார மாட்டேங்கிறான், ஓடிட்டே இருக்கான், அவனோட எரேசர் எடுக்கிறான், இவனோட பென்சில் எடுக்கிறான், டீச்சரை கிளாஸ் எடுக்க விட மாட்டேங்கிறான், அண்ட் ஆல் ஆஃப் இட் வி ஹியர் ஆல் ஆஃப் தீஸ் கம்ப்ளைண்ட்ஸ் repeatedly. So do you think children have the capacity of sitting 6 hours straight in one place and listening? Most of the times here in schools, right, we only listen to what teachers say. So அந்த 6 hours நம்மளால ஒருத்தவங்க சொல்றது அப்படியே கேட்டுட்டே உட்கார முடியுமா?
No, to be very honest, it is difficult. That too, given the fact that nowadays with lot of screen exposure, the attention span has come down. Even for adults, it has drastically come down. For children, of course, yeah. Generally, what they say is that adult has an attention span of 40 minutes. For children, it will be around 30 minutes. So even the timetable are framed in that way, right? So initially teacher comes in, settles down, takes class for like 30 minutes, and then the end winding up and then going. So it's framed like that. But nowadays, I think we have to again measure and we have to redo and think how much they can sustain their attention for. It's difficult. But the thing is that again, when we talk about restlessness, one thing is that not all children are restless,
Right.
right? Like few children are very. We notice that they are restless and they're not able to sit, and that's considered as a problem.
Right. Yeah.
That time, what I would ideally say is that not to see it as a problem. So if the child is restless, it doesn't mean the child is being rebellious
Yeah.
or the child is not obeying. So there is some need behind that restlessness. So probably the teacher has to see what is the need behind the restlessness. Probably not everyone has the equal amount of
Attention
energy
span.
or the attention span to sit. Probably that child needs a break. And if the child consistently displays this behavior of being restlessness, probably the counselor at the school or the parents or the teacher together, they can sit and talk about it and come up with a plan.
Right.
Ideally could be giving a movement break, asking the child to walk in the corridor and come back, or giving some fidgeting toys for that particular kid. So again, accommodating the child's need is very important rather than labeling them as being a problematic child.
Right, right. In a school setup, as you told, when children become very restless, they are obviously named to be rebellious or disobedient and all of it. But on the other hand, I feel most of the children don't show out that they are restless because they wanted to be disciplined. They wanted to be the obedient child. Honestly speaking, I went to a workshop 6 months back. It was a 2-day workshop, 8 hours, 8 hours. And I was not able to sit after the first hour. Okay, I'm not diagnosed with anything. So, but I got very restless. I was not able to listen to somebody talk for more than a hour. I was not able to sit in one place. I used to ask for permission. I used to go out, use my phone, call somebody, talk, and then come back after 10 minutes because I was not able to sit there. And that day I wondered if something was not okay with me or is it the teachings? And I was wondering how were other people able to sit? No, they were all sitting and few actually zoned out. They didn't even realize one of their group members got up, went out and came inside.
They would have slept as well.
They are sitting, their eyes are open, they are looking at the facilitator, but they're not paying attention. I don't have that skill. So I asked for permission, I went out and I came back. But I feel, in the need to be disciplined or obedient, I feel even children who feel very restless do not explicitly say it.
That's really true.
No, they say, ma'am, I want to use the restroom. Something they say and they go out.
Even you can see them, simply asking doubts.
Yeah.
Not that, it's a meaningful doubt, they just keep asking. And also, I think we have to see a very larger picture here. And also, like as a community, as a society, we all have to rethink about how the schooling system is. Right? As you said, like few schools have this very minimal student teacher ratio. We have to rethink about how can we include more movement and breaks because children need movement. They can't sit still for a longer period of time. More activities, more practically oriented classes. So we have to start working from the policy making, the curriculum setting and all that we have to consider.
And by doing this, when frequent breaks are not given, when they're asked to sit in one place and just listen to what the teacher says, somewhere or the other, I feel while they grow up, they already form a hatred towards that subject or learning or schooling in general. No, that also happens.
That's really true.
Okay. Now with these talking about behavioral concerns and all, there is a very thin line between something that should be concerning and something that is a normal temperament in a child. How do we know what is that line? Because as a society, as you told earlier, we have normalized so many things.
True.
Okay. So which is the line? How to figure out this is just a temperament or this is a concern?
That's a very important question, I guess. So temperament is something like a default setting that we have in a phone when it comes with. So it's something natural that the child has in them. And behavior, when we say, it's something what we observe them doing, what they explicitly do. behaviors are determined by a lot of things. One such thing is a temperament,
Right.
right? So as you said, it's very important for us to understand and to see when a behavior is a problematic behavior. Again, so not when we talk about behavior, automatically problem behavior is what that comes to our mind,
right.
right? So we have to be mindful enough to know when it is a problem. So few criteria that we can think of. One would be whether it's disrupting their daily life activities
Right.
in different domains, with regard to school, with regard to being at home, with regard to doing their own works, with regard to social connections as well. So if there is any disruptions in these areas, then that's something alarming, that's something that's concerning. Other thing would be if it is harmful to them or if it's harming other person as well.
Yeah.
Behaviors like, hitting, sometimes self-biting, self-head-banging. So these are all behaviors that we have to pay attention. We just can't like completely ignore or like completely, like leave it, or they will grow out of it. We really can't just put them aside. And also how it is affecting their relationships with parents, with the peers, with the society. So all those things. Apart from that, there are certain behaviors that culturally and societally we expect, to be very ideal, or
Right.
that's how it has to be, and we really can't completely ignore the cultural aspect as well. So these are the certain things that we have to keep in mind when we are seeing whether it's a problem behavior or it's not a problem behavior, right? And one more thing would be, if, as I said earlier, one tantrum is not a problem, but if it's being a pattern or it's a way of responding for the child. So when probably, for example, when the child is asking for a mobile or asking for an ice cream, whatever it is, and every time it's not just asking, it's a tantrum,
Yeah.
right? So அப்போ என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, எனக்கு ஐஸ்கிரீம் வேணும்னாலே நான் அடம் பிடிப்பேன். ஸோ அப்போ வந்து அது ஒரு பேட்டர்னாக ஆயிடுச்சு. அவங்க அது கேட்குற விதமே நான் அடம் பிடிச்சு கேட்கறது தான் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ஆகிடும். ஸோ when it comes to tantrum, I think it's very common question that every parents will have. So very important thing is that அந்த ஆரம்பிக்கும் போதே அந்த முனையிலே கிள்ளிடணும் அந்த டான்ட்ரம். ஏன்னா if we leave, it will start building up. It's not going to stop anywhere. ஸோ ஃபஸ்ட்டே அவங்க அடம் பிடிக்கிறாங்கன்னும் போது இஃப் அதை நம்ம வந்து ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிடுறோம், இக்னோர் பண்ணிடுறோன்னா இட் வில் பி பெட்டர். இஃப் நாட், வாட் வில் ஹேப்பன், ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் லெட்ஸ் சே ஒரு சைல்டு வந்து ஐஸ்கிரீம் வேணும்னு கேட்குறாங்க. ஃபஸ்ட்டு கேட்குறாங்க, நீங்கள் நோ சொல்லிடுறீங்க. வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ், சைல்டு வில் திருப்பியும் நோயின்னு கேட்க ஆரம்பிப்பாங்க, வேணும் வேணும் வேணும், அந்த மாதிரி இட் வில் ஹேப்பன். யூ வில் சே நோ அகெயின். இது வேலைக்கு ஆகல, ஐ வில் டேக் another tool, I will start shouting, I will start screaming. So it happens. So there will be a threshold where the parents feel, probably இப்போ ஒரு சூப்பர் மார்க்கெட் அந்த மாதிரி செட்டப்பில் இருக்காங்க, they will feel embarrassed to see that. So they will get it. Right? அப்போ என்ன ஆகும்னா, அந்த லைன் அந்த டைமில் the child's learning is that if my parents say no, I have to scream. So அது வந்துடும். So next time again what happens when the parents say no for the same thing or for different thing, they will try till screaming. Screaming வரைக்கும் ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆகலையா, திருப்பி நோ தானா,
rolling on the floor.
அது ட்ரை பண்ணுவேன், அடுத்த டூல்.
But how clever they are, no?
Very, very. So it's a very beautiful way of how children are learning it.
Yeah.
So we have to see how learning happens, right? So அப்போ என்ன ஆகும், it will keep escalating. It's not going to stop anywhere. So the earlier you start ignoring and working with it, the better it will be.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Now a Western YouTuber, okay, he posted a daily vlog. The daily vlog, his 4-year-old child came and bit him on his arms. And after biting, he just looked at a child and he said, you wanted to express anger to Papa? This is why you're biting me? I think then it's okay. If you are done expressing yourself, if you feel better about it, then it's okay. I feel happy about it as a papa. And when I watched the video, I felt, what will be the learning for the child from it? Now, for the child, it's okay to go and bite Appa if I am going through something, no? So I don't know. He's very muscular. Maybe it's not painful for him. But what would be the learning for the child there?
Very true, very true. It's actually not very ideal way of handling the situation, right? So the child's learning there is that, okay, if I want to express my emotion, I can bite anyone.
Yeah, I can bite anyone.
This is not going to stop with the dad here. It's going to get generalized all over.
Yeah.
So initially again, what I feel is that parents, they have to understand that expressing emotions in any form is not acceptable.
Right. Right.
We have to draw a line, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
We have a play school in KK Nagar,
Mm.
and the person who was taking care of the play school had a conversation with me. She said we had one child in the play school who had the habit of biting others.
Mm.
If he is very angry about something, he'll go around, he'll just bite somebody and come. And looking at him, lot of other children started modeling that behavior.
Mm.
Okay, let me bite.
Yeah.
So she was talking to me about how children learn quickly from others, and how even inappropriate behaviors are learned by them very quickly. Now, simply she gave me the answer also. She said it all happened because the first time when the child did it, the teacher did not scold.
Mm.
Or the teacher did not question why he bit. The teacher simply said, you go to the calm corner and sit there. Now, calm corner also becomes very easy because they've got remote control cars there.
Oh.
The child goes there, bites anybody. Now he can go, he gets a timeout for 10 minutes, sits in the corner, and then plays with the car that's there. So, this is something that we have told. Talking about behaviors, there are lot of behavioral concerns in children. As parents, they don't know the root cause of certain behaviors. As psychologists, we learn to go deep into it and figure out where they've learned, why they do, and all of it. But as parents, it is quite difficult for them to do that. Now, I'll give you some behavior, and if you could tell me what could be the root cause, it might be helpful for other parents. So, number one is frequent lying.
Yeah. So I'll be saying not just one root cause
Right,
because
probable root causes.
Yeah, so probably there could be few root causes for it. Frequent lying is that they their needs are not being met, right? And they are being put down. So and
For
also
being honest.
yeah,
Right.
for
Very
being
true.
honest, yeah, and also sometimes they don't feel that my needs will be met by my parents or by someone, so it's okay for me to lie, right? And sometimes they feel it to be very cool.
Right. I lie and my mother had already believed me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And number two, stealing.
Stealing to feel a sense of power,
Power, yeah.
right? So I can take it without their
Yeah.
notice, right? It can be impulse also, impulsive thing. Stealing sometimes come under impulsive disorder as well when it's done in a very repetitive time, right? That could be the reason. And also the joy behind it, just the sense of achievement.
Yeah, right. And one child, right, when I met and I asked her, did you take so and so's pencil and all of it? She said, yes, I took. With a very straight face. Okay. So I asked, why would you want that pencil? She said, I asked my father. He said, no. So I took it. So as I said, the sense of power, somebody told no to me. If I can get the pencil, why would I go behind
Exactly.
that? Behind my
Yeah.
father or behind my mother for the same pencil. So let me
True.
go take it. And when the child came and asked, did you take my pencil? I said, yes, I took it. Because my father said, I'll not get it for you. Very honestly, she
Yeah.
said. Okay. And I also see this very frequently among children. When again you say a no to something, or when they don't get things that they ask for, they go hit their head against the wall, or they try to put something on their head. They try to harm themselves. Why is this happening?
There could be with two different angle to it. Sometimes we see the self-harm behaviors in children who are diagnosed with autism,
Right. Yeah.
So that would be a different sensory level answer. But if we generally see, in order to get a thing done, it is a form of tantrum is what I would say, right? So if I do this, I will get it. Just to get it, because the parents, when they're crying, probably the parents will let them cry for hours as well. But when they're hitting them, they know that it's a very quick way to get something.
Right. Okay. And the other one is dominating others. Now, I see this somewhere in schools and all. When children go, right, there will always be one or two children in the class who will initiate a lot of things, who will be perceived as somebody who's got great leadership skills among the teachers. Somewhere or the other, as counselor, when I see, I feel they are a bit dominating others. And now, somewhere, if I ask them, or if you meet the parents during the PTM, you will feel that even the parents have got the same voice, volume, pitch, and all of it put together. So this becomes a behavioral concern, not because they're dominating, but when they realize somebody does not listen to what they say. So their dominance level, when they feel somebody does not respect their whatever they say, they start doing a lot of other ways to make them do it. Why do children dominate others generally?
One thing, as you said, could be observational learning, seeing it happen
Yeah.
at home. Other thing is that they feel in control when they dominate, right? Probably situation at home or situation elsewhere, they don't have that control. No, they don't feel safe. So when they get into the dominant mode and when they start control, doing that, they have that sense of control in them, right? So probably they feel safe there when they're doing it.
Yeah.
So when they feel safe, automatically they want to keep doing it, right? And also to the point that you asked, where they are not able to take in the other opinions, it all comes from the child had maybe the child might have not had enough experience or enough opportunities to be in a very cooperative setup and work cooperatively in a group.
Right.
Probably the child would have been a single child or no peers to play outside. The group play, you see how group play comes
Yes,
in
yes.
and helps with a lot of things, like from turn taking, leadership, responsibility taking, problem solving. They will have குட்டி குட்டி ஃபைட்ஸ்ல அவங்களுக்குள்ளே சண்டை நடந்துக்கும், அது அவங்களே சால்வ் பண்ணிப்பாங்க.
And how they communicate about the
Yeah.
problems without involving the elders.
True.
I saw my neighbor who usually these parents will come to do panchayats, no, when two children are playing. Said, Amma, I'll take care. So the mother was not ready to leave. The child was ready to take up the responsibility. Quickly he said, Amma, I'll take care. You go. You do your work, we'll do our work. So somewhere, as you said, they learn a lot of things in group play.
So probably the child would have not had that much opportunity. So
right.
this could be some reasons, that dominance thing comes in there.
Okay. And last thing is attention seeking. Now you and I know that it is very, very common in children.
Yeah.
Starting from Freud's theory, we've always learned about attention seeking. But at one point it becomes a concern when parents around or when teachers around are not able to pay attention, and when they also go, as you told, the criteria for behavioral concern, when they start doing a lot of things. Okay, only if my knee gets injured, my father will take care of me, father will be with me. அப்படின்ற ஒரு லெவலுக்கு attention seeking இருக்குல்ல, what could be the cause of that?
Attention seeking, it's a root cause of many problems. And I would say attention seeking behavior, when it comes to children பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் attention is everything.
Yeah.
Being seen is everything, because they're child, they want that attention. So what happens is that when they are not getting their attention from the primary caregiver or from the home, so this becomes a problem. Right? So they kind of learn very quickly that I have to do certain things to get the attention. So what can parents ideally do is that, again going back quality time, right, to make sure that they meet the needs of the child. So அந்த நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி அவங்க என் காலில் அடிபட்டுருச்சுன்னா எங்கள் அப்பா பார்ப்பாங்க, டைம் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஸோ அப்போ என்ன, அங்கே நீட், வி ஹவ் டு சி வாட் இஸ் அ நீட். ஸோ எவ்ரி பிஹேவியர் பின்னாடி தெர் இஸ் அ ஃபங்க்ஷன் ஆர் தெர் இஸ் அ நீட், ஒரு தேவை இருக்குது. ஸோ வி ஹவ் டு ஐடென்டிஃபை தேட். ஸோ அப்போ அந்த குழந்தைக்கு என்ன கிடைக்குது. ஸோ இஃப் த சைல்டு இஸ் டூயிங் அ பர்டிகுலர் பிஹேவியர் ஃபார் அட்டென்ஷன் சீக்கிங், the child is gaining something out of it. So we have to see what the child is gaining here.
Right.
So our answer lies in what the child is gaining. If the child is gaining some time with the parents, probably the child needs some time with the parents. Right? If the child is being pampered, like வேணும்ட்டே போய் கீழே விழுந்து அடிபட்டு அவங்க அம்மா உடனே வந்து பார்த்துக்கிட்டு, if the mother is pampering a lot, probably the child needs that warmth
and care. Yeah.
Right? So what they are gaining is what the child basically needs. So அந்த நீடை நம்ம சாட்டிஸ்ஃபை பண்ணோம்னா this behavior, attention seeking behavior, will go down.
Yeah. And also in Indian households, right, when you're talking about warmth and care, when I met my mentor very recently, he said one of the concerns that most of the parents right now have is sibling rivalry, with their children. So he said, முன்னாடி இப்போ என் கூட பிறந்தவங்கலாம் 7 பேர். So we've always had and done things together. எங்களுக்குன்னு இப்போ ஒரு 7 சாக்லேட், 7 ஐஸ்கிரீம் அப்படின்லாம் வாங்கி தந்ததில்லை. ஒரு சாக்லேட் ஒரு ஐஸ்கிரீம், we've always been taught of how to share it, anything and everything divided by 7. But இப்போ you said இப்போ இருக்கிற parents and all, lot of them they get, இப்போ 2 குழந்தைங்கன்னா 2 சாக்லேட், 2 ஐஸ்கிரீம் அப்படின்னு கொடுத்ததுனால they do not have a shared time. அதனால sibling rivalry is going up அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. What is your thought about it?
Yes. That's true. And as we see, it's a very fast paced world right now, right? We are not having enough time for ourselves. So as a family having a time and siblings having a time together,
It's
again,
very
it's
rare.
very rare.
Yeah.
It's gone down a lot. And also another thing is that screen time.
Right.
ஸோ அந்த ஒரு சாக்லேட் மட்டும் ரெண்டு ரெண்டு வாங்கி கொடுக்கறது கிடையாது, மொபைலும் ரெண்டு ரெண்டு வாங்கி கொடுக்கறது, டேபும் ரெண்டு ரெண்டு வாங்கி கொடுத்துறது. ஸோ அந்த ஒரு ஷேர்டு குவாலிட்டி டைம் அப்படிங்கிறது சிப்ளிங்ஸ்குள்ளேயே இல்லை. கரெக்டா? ஸோ அப்போ வாட்ஸ் ஹேப்பனிங் இஸ் தட் அந்த ஒரு ஷேர்ட் குவாலிட்டி டைம் இல்லைன்னும் போது த ஸ்பேஸ் ஃபார் தெம் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் ஆர் ஸ்பேஸ் ஃபார் தெம் டு பி தேர் ஃபார் ஈச் அதர், அது எதுவுமே இல்லை. ஸோ இட் இஸ் ஆல் காம்படிஷன். த வேர்ல்ட் இஸ் வெரி காம்படிட்டிவ், home is also very competitive, right? And one more reason would be parents compare பண்றது. They start comparing with the sibling, right? They will be like, அவன் நல்லா பண்றான்ல, so இவன் நல்லா படிக்கிறான்ல, he is able to do, why are you not able to do? So this comparison, parents பண்ற comparison தான், ஆனா அவங்களுக்குள்ள ஒரு பிரிவை வந்து உண்டாக்குது.
Correct.
So again, that is something parents have to be really mindful.
They also feel very competitive at home, no?
Yeah.
But at home, they're supposed to be very peaceful with their own sibling. But Ingume, as you said, I hear a lot of parents say, I compare just to motivate. நோ பெரியவனை பார்த்து இவனும் வளருவான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பெரியவனை மாதிரி இருந்து நான் சொல்கிறேன், இதில் என்ன தப்பு இருக்குது அப்படின்னு அவங்க கேட்குறாங்க. பட் இட் இஸ் அகேன் அ கொஷன் ஆஃப் ஐடென்டிட்டி ஹியர். நோ, நான் ஏன் பெரியவனை மாதிரி இருக்கணும்? ஐ ஹவ் காட் மை ஓன் பர்சனல் ஸ்டஃப் டு டூ, ஐ ஹவ் காட் மை ஓன் சப்ஜெக்டிவ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட். நான் ஏன் பெரியவனை மாதிரி ஒரு பியானோ கிளாஸ் போகணும், நான் ஏன் ஒரு வயலின் கிளாஸ் போகக்கூடாது அப்படின்ட்டு ஒரு கொஷன் ஸ்டார்ட்ஸ் கம்மிங். Okay, now next we'll enter into a segment called the red flag or green flag.
Wow, interesting.
Okay? Now we already know how red flag and green flag works. It doesn't work only with romantic relationships. It works in every relationship. So I'll just give you some situations and you will show the red flag or the green flag and tell me your opinion about it. Okay. The first sentence of red flag or green flag: don't cry. Here, take my phone.
Can I get a bigger red flag? Okay, so now phones have become like a quick instant solution.
Yeah,
for anything and everything. Crying will take it. It's like தலைவலினா ஒரு $650 எடுத்து போட்டுக்கோன்னு சொல்ற மாதிரி, the child is crying, any emotional problem, give a mobile. It's just like that. So the space for the child to express emotions, to be in the emotions, we are cutting it right down there. So when they grow as an adult, it's very very difficult to think, oh my god, avanga evlo kashtapaduvaanga when it comes to emotion regulations and processing and all that when they grow. It's very very big red flag. No.
Okay, and the second one, of course even you and I would have heard it: be quiet, everyone is watching.
Oh my god. Very big red flag again, as you said, like நம்ம discuss பண்ணோம்ல, how you know we are expecting the child to be a mini adult. Right. It's a version of it again, right? So children ku vandu their prefrontal cortex is not completely developed. Right? It takes like 18 years or early 20s for us to develop. So this prefrontal cortex is what makes human a human. Correct? So இந்த ஒரு பிளானிங்கோ, ஒரு ஆர்கனைசிங், ஒரு இந்த எமோஷனல் ரெகுலேஷனாக இருக்கட்டும், ஒரு இம்பல்ஸ் கண்ட்ரோல், இது டிசிஷன் மேக்கிங், ப்ராப்ளம் சால்விங், இது எல்லாமே திஸ் பார்ட் இஸ் வாட் இஸ் டூ. ஸோ அப்போது அப்படின்னும் போது அந்த சுச்சுவேஷனை அனலைஸ் பண்ணி நான் இப்படி தான் இங்கே இருக்கணும் அப்படின்றதெல்லாம் அந்த சைல்டு இன்னும் கற்றுக்கல. அண்ட் இஃப் யூ செட் ஒன்ஸ் நான் முன்னாடியே சொல்லிட்டேன்ல, நீ திருப்பியும் எப்படி பண்ணனா, நோ, த சைல்டு ரியலி கான்ட் கனெக்ட் த டாட்ஸ் அண்ட் பிஹேவ். த சைல்டு இஸ் ஸ்டில் லேர்னிங், right? So அந்த மொமெண்ட்ல the parent is also not being regulated. Again the child observes it there, right? நீங்களே ரெகுலேட்டடா இல்லை, நான் ஏன் இந்த இடத்துல ரெகுலேட்டடாக அமைதியாக இருக்கணும். So that is also there.
Okay. And the third one, I see you're upset, I'll sit next to you. We can talk when you want to talk about it or when you feel like talking about it.
Amazing green flag that is. I think nowadays parents are moving towards it, is what I see. They're trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's a very good thing to do. Just giving them space.
Yeah.
Right?
And often I see when a child is injured and they come inside, no, instead of asking what they need right now, lot of parents probe into what happened before.
True.
You know, how do you feel now? Where are you hurt? Do you want a first aid? Do you want water? ன்னு கேட்கறதுக்கு பதிலா I feel there are a lot of parents who start asking, எப்படி விழுந்த, என்னாச்சு, சைக்கிள் எங்க, யாரோட போன, they become very curious. I know humans are very curious that way, but somewhere or the other I feel it would be even more better for the parents to validate how they feel at the moment before going back to what had happened they're crying right now. And most parents now I see them saying, அழாம சொல்லு அழாம சொன்னா தானே எனக்கு என்ன நடந்தது தெரியும். The child is not able to communicate, which is cry is also a form of communication, right? The child, something is bothering the child, which is why the child is crying. அழாம சொல்லு அமைதியா இரு and all of it. I really don't know child can put in, even if we all see as adults, even we all suffer sometimes to articulate how we feel, no, as children sometimes even they are very clueless about it. Though I see it very common among parents. And the last one, if you throw a tantrum, no more iPad or no more screen time.
So why I say this as a red flag is that, see, they are connecting this tantrum again to something that they have to avoid it.
Right.
Right? So if they kind of condition it that way, it's not going to, probably at that moment, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Long run, no. It's not going to help them. So I would say, no, there are better ways to handle the tantrum. So they have to understand why this tantrum is happening. So just, making them, installing some fear at that moment to make them stop a tantrum is not going to work at that moment.